Hello, welcome pen friends. My name is Chris and I'm back with another video. We're starting a new kind of a little mini series here because what I'm going to do now is the ink flight that came for September. Now it's behind. I would normally be more on top of this, but we spent all of September with the 30 inks 30 days challenge. So just kind of picking up where I left off there. We've already done J. Arbonne Rue Granat, and now I'm going to start today with J. Arbonne Bleu Calanque. Let me just put this up here so you can see it a little bit better. It says here on the little itinerary from Ink Flight, because this is what this is all about, the Ink Flight box for September. It says, named after the steep-walled inlets along the Mediterranean coast, this light aquamarine reflects the tranquility and beauty of the water. It is a beautiful ink, and so much so that it reminds me of my very favorite ink, which is Diamine Aqua Lagoon. But let's go ahead and look at how this came out in here. And this is the Rhodia Gold book. Oh, I'm supposed to do the bath test first. Let's do that because see, I'm out of practice. One day between or 2 days, and I'm out of practice. So here it is on the Rhodia dot pad, and we'll go ahead and let that happen while we're talking here because that's just much easier. You get to see much more of what happens that way. So there we go. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. It shades beautifully on Tomoe River paper, and it looks so much. In a minute, we're going to flip back to where I did a Diamine Aqua Lagoon before I even started doing these reviews in this journal. So it's neat, too, because it's available in a 30 ml bottle for $12. I want to see if that's right. Yeah, at Ink Journal. Okay, I wrote it funny. Ink Journal is carrying the 30 ml bottle right now anyway until they run out. And then Jet Pens has the little 10 ml bottle of it for $5.50. Now, this is what the little 10 ml bottles look like. Whoops. Yeah, let's make sure it focuses. This is empty because I did empty it into something that would, this was a gift from a pen friend, and I emptied the ink into the plastic vials so that it would fit in my storage. But this is a nice little bottle that they come in like that, and it's kind of a nice alternative if you're wanting a small amount of ink. So there it is. And then my first impressions, this is just a wow ink for me. It's very, very similar to the Diamine Aqua Lagoon, so it's not like it's forcing me out to make a purchase right away or anything like that, but it's definitely something to work with and compare going forward because it shades beautifully, just like the other ink there that's my favorite. And I love the color. It's nice, and it's a little more subtler in some cases, so that's what we'll see in a minute here. Let's go ahead and look in... Gosh, I usually put this up too. This was just on my initial indexing, which sometimes looks a little brighter maybe under the camera. But let's go right into the Cafe Note with Tomoe River paper from Nanami Paper Company. This is where I write in here every day, even if I'm not doing a video. But this was from this morning. Everything's going super. And if you can see... this is with the broad nib and the serendipity because I'm kind of going to try to keep these stable. So we're looking basically with the same, you know, pen and nib and feed so that we can get a fair comparison. But wow, I just, you know, I hope you could see some of that dramatic shading. In fact, that's different in a way because you get some darker shading around the edges of each letter, which I wish you could see. Like, look there on that semicolon. It's just amazing. I love it. I definitely could write with this all day, and certainly I have it inked up right now, and I've got some letters to write, so it's going to be a joy to write with. Now, it makes me think of summer more than fall, but you know, I'm catching up on these videos. And this here I smeared with my hand because somehow or another I got a little tad of the ink down on the paper. But it's great. And I have never felt better, so I'm doing really well on this low-carb and intermittent fasting. I super well since I started taking a little bit of a supplement of the magnesium. Just instantly. I mean, I could tell that was what I needed, at least for a little while I rebuild after probably dehydrating myself at first. So, okay, let's get into here. This is where I'm doing... I wanted to show you because it's a different Tomoe River paper, and it's interesting because looks lighter. This is the Ink Journal's current challenge to write a sentence with the 3 challenge words, and today's words were novel, pics, and bicycle. So, you know, I read the sentences other people write, and I'm like, wow, they thought of such cool ideas. But here's mine. On the bicycle trail, I saw a bookstore, which reminded me of a novel I want to get, and this month's book club picks. Well, the bicycle part of it kind of reminded me of the Stowe bike path, which I went with my nephew and brother and friend, and it was such a fun time. And they had these restaurants. You could stop and shop or do whatever on the bike trail, and I'd never experienced that before. So anyway, that was really cool. And of course, this time of year, I really think of my home state in Vermont because of fall being so beautiful. So I got on to, I couldn't do another Clairefontaine envelope right now because I just don't have enough. And we did kind of see a pretty comparable result, other than the fact that the envelope itself fell apart. This one did on the other envelope test, and the Clairefontaine was still a usable envelope. But I think we can still do the ink test with this. So we'll keep this running till we fill it up, and then we'll do another one of those. But it does feather just a little bit on here, which, you know, kind of makes sense. It's a broad nib, and it's not fountain pen friendly paper. So we'll have to think about, I'll have to think about going forward how to maybe handle the envelope test a little better. It did great on the Leuchtturm 1917 dot grid page. I see lots of shading there, even though this is a little bit more absorbent paper, and no bleed through whatsoever. So then here we have the Clairefontaine, and I just kind of ripped it out and left it so you could see it is a spiral notebook, and it looks nice on here. It has shading. This is, you know, premium paper. Obviously no bleed through on that, but it's this is the size if anybody's curious. It's a little bigger than A5, and it's a really nice size. They're pricey, and I haven't repurchased. I'm just finishing one that I have. So okay, this is the CVS caliber paper that I can't say enough good about, and even shading on here with this ink. Maybe not as dramatic as it is on the Leuchtturm even, or let's see, we'll hold it up together because it did appear darker on that paper, which was interesting. And that could be technical. That could be the time in the dip of the pen, because we know that this pen is a dip pen. But I try to stay on top of that, and it kind of has a drastic drop off. It usually doesn't fade too much. So here's the Rhodia dot pad, and I like the shading on there very much too. This is really good paper. And, you know, no bleed through at all there. Never worry about that. Okay, and then on the Office Depot College Ruled notebook, it was just fine on there too. And you see some shading, or I do, and I'm pretty sure you do too. See how the I is much more dark than the B. Just quite a bit of shading. So this is one of my favorites for daily writing, and it's nice because I can locally go and just pick it up. I mean, it's nice to order things too, but not so much. I mean, I like it when I can go pick something up. That's why that CVS paper, oh, I mean, it's just great. So there we have it. Now, let's look at here. Now, I got another special thing to show you too, but let's look at the color panel. You see, that's pretty much typical fountain pen ink. It's disappeared pretty good, but we'll put that aside. Now, I left a couple free spaces today because I've got some other blues coming up, and I don't know what I was thinking putting this on here. Probably that I just wanted to see it some more and paint with it, because this is not, it doesn't go with these other inks. But here it is up here. J. Herbin Bleu Calanque, and I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but I have no clue where to begin. See how similar it is to, let me get the shadowing out from my hand. It's very similar to the Diamine Aqua Lagoon, so that should help you. You know, I see a little bit more dramatic edge shading on here. This is the 140-pound watercolor paper, but yet I don't notice. I mean, when I'm writing, I feel like it's very similar. Oh, I promised you a flip back onto the other ink, and we didn't do that yet. Shoot. let me go ahead and do it now. This was the Diamine Aqua Lagoon. And it's hard because everything's in that notebook already. It's tough to show you both pages at once, and I don't quite have that down. But and I wasn't using the broad nib here either. But if you'll notice, it is very similar. Let's see if we can do a. Okay, so there it is, and we'll do a kind of a rapid flip back over. It's quite similar. Too bad we can't get it side by side. Oh. But and yet, you know, there are some differences, and that would probably require, you know, looking at it separately. So I've got to spend some more time with it. But definitely nice to know there's something so similar, because that's a real affordable ink too, you know, the Diamine inks. Now, let me see. I felt like this one went over into the, not green, but it definitely moved away a little bit more from blue, if you can notice. And this is fairly what I'm seeing. You know, it's probably just alters it just a little, which we can't avoid. And then, of course, the Pilot Iroshizuku Kujaku really is darker and different. But I put it there because we're familiar with this one, a lot of us. And then this is interesting, how Robert Oster Torquay, that's similar, and yet I detect a difference. Not a whole lot, but there is a difference. So, very interesting. And then Diamine Marine did the same thing. It's so interesting how I ended up with those in the middle. They probably, it would have been nice to have them on the end, but that's what happens when I get carried away. And I'll show you what I was doing that got me kind of carried away from staying on subject here. But that's the comparison. And of course, these are awfully fun to do and nice to have to keep, because I'm going to get back into my art journaling, and I have been. So this is what happened. This is interesting, okay? And this is not my creativity. This is totally seeing people on Instagram doing some cool things. And then it led me here. It led me to nickstewart.ink. That's his website. And I guess is located in Rochester, England. But there's so much creativity as an artist, and this process where you can put down water on the page with like a paintbrush, or I don't know how they do it or he does it, but you get the page wet, and then you just put like a drop of ink and it just goes crazy. It does its own thing. You might come back in and dot it again, or like I did it up here, then I did it one more time, and wow, it just goes wherever the water is. And this isn't anything compared to the other one I'm going to show you, but this is the ink we're doing today, so I thought I'd start with it. Gosh, you know, and this was, I got it wet over here, probably not wet enough, and so I made a dot, and it just made these little patterns, and I thought that was neat too, because for art journaling, I used to art journal every day, and I want to get back into it, but I'm back like at square one, where I think, oh, it doesn't look pretty or whatever. So I like these kind of serendipity kind of things, and also the ink blobs that I had showed in another video. I like that kind of thing because it's like, it's not my fault, it's just doing whatever it's doing. And it's kind of a good way back into art journaling for me. And then, let's see, this is what, oh my goodness. Okay, so this one was a whole different story. This was a KWZ Standard Brown Pink, and look what that did. That kind of makes me think of chromatography. I don't know how to do it quite yet, and I've got a few little beginning, you know, kind of things, but I bombed on the first one I tried to do. It just came out like this, so obviously that's not really going to show us much, you know. And that's a cheap coffee filter, and I don't have the right supplies. I'll get there. But I thought it was worth it to show you what, oh my. Now, you know, there's so much more to it. Like, you know, an artist would be directing the ink a little and making some lines and coming out with a tree or something. But I'm happy with this kind of thing. I really am for right now. And then little by little, I'm going to just probably get braver to experiment. And that's when the fun comes in. So anyway, I thought I'd show you. And this, you know, this paper's so good that you can do stuff front and back. And I hadn't used it. I'd had it a long time and then hadn't used it. So it just, you know, it's time that it be used and enjoyed and stuff. So once again, in terms of learning about this kind of neat stuff, because he's got other techniques with bleach, and he's really into fountain pen ink for, you know, art use, and it's just neat. And he has inks for sale and everything. So if you haven't heard of this, go check out his website right here. You will enjoy it if you like, you know, if you're into more than just writing with the inks, but what it can do for art. So I'm trying to think if there's, for some reason I'm like losing my, oh yeah, what we need to probably look back on is what's next now, I think, because I've gone long-winded. Okay, so what's next is this color. I'm going to go to the shimmer ink. I think you can see that shimmer a little. J. Herbin Coraline de Egypt. Okay, that'll be next. And the reason is because I'm still trying to figure this one out. I have nothing to compare it to. It's quite going to be lonely on the little ink comparison chart, but I do have some that come into the same family as this one, and I'll look over and see what charts I already have. So that is all for today, and I think we'll, you know, next video, whenever that comes, whether it's tomorrow or, I've got quite a bit tomorrow, so it might be Saturday, we will revisit this and you could see it, but it looks to me like we know what's going to happen. So thank you very much for joining me. I'll try to link in some of the things I've talked about so that you can find them easily, and I appreciate you being here, and see you next time. Bye for now.